What's happening? What's happening? It is Wednesday. A little late on this rainy Wednesday. That means it's Wicked Win Sports Team, man. It's your boy, your OG, Mr. White in the building. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna hold y'all long. You know what I'm saying? Just gonna have a little bit of conversation. You know, about some free agent stuff, some undrafted free agent stuff, and and talk about this defense, this defensive line room, and the burden that they carry, to lead the defense. You know what I'm saying? But hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's safe, and what I'm saying, in rush hour, on this hump day. This weather scrolling through here and doing what it's doing. You know what I mean? But you know, get on, what I'm saying? The defensive undrafted free agent, Kobe Bryant, is the diamond undrafted free agent defensively. I say that because when you look at his body of work, I know a lot of people, the talking heads, the college football aficionados, and some of the pro football aficionados, look down on the Big 12. But this young man was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, 2 years straight, All-American. You know what I'm saying? He led the Big 12 in turnovers, creating turnovers. And he put in that work. For whatever reason, there were 15, 16 or so, defensive backs that, were picked before him. And I thought that Kobe was, I thought he was a top 10 defensive back, cornerback. Honestly, I had him right up there with Will Johnson and Travis and the other kid. I had him right up there with that guy. I think him actually falling all the way down to the undrafted free agent pool was a godsend. I think this kid not only makes the team, but he makes an impact. He makes an impact. I think that he's gonna, it's gonna be a surprise to a lot of people, but I think he's gonna, make a lot of noise because he has that ability. He has that ability. He has a little bit of champ in him. He has a little bit of Champ Bailey in him. He's a hybrid a little bit, but he definitely gets, the bump and run down. He's a physical corner. Kobe's gonna cause, some a surprise move on that back end not to make the team. Because that boy, he has too much talent. He has too much talent and he has too much know-how not to make the team. We had I think we signed a couple of diamonds in the rough overall, but just speaking defensively, I think this boy, Kobe Bryant, is going to be our defensive diamond. I think so. I believe so. You know what I'm saying? King Richard, what's good, man? What's happening? How you doing? Just giving my yeah, yeah, that right there. I think so too. That's why he was the first undrafted free to sign a $3 million deal. Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Hey Sonya, how you doing? What's good with you, dear? Hope your day's going well. But yeah, I think I think I think Kobe, as far as the defensive undrafted free agent signings, I think it's foregone conclusion, man. I think he's etched in stone. I think he's gonna mess around and push one, maybe two at the door. Um, you know, because he has the size, he has the speed, he has the technique, um, he has the physical play to go with it. Great hand eye, you know what I'm saying? Read and react. It's he's a diamond. He's a find. He's a blessing that fell all the way out the draft for whatever, things happen the way they happen. But this kid at this position with us, he's gonna make some noise. He's gonna have the opportunity to make some noise in that aspect. You know, Raheem said his kids told him about. Hey, you find scouts in the most unlikeliest of places. I can truly believe that right there. To go take a look at the kid, you know what I mean, and then you go back and, like I said, you look at what he did at Kansas. You know, Big 12 doubt notwithstanding, because the Big 12 has long had a history of not having the greatest of defensive conferences, but have produced some good defensive players. And I think Kobe Bryant is in that same mode. All American, Big 12, you know what I'm saying? Defensive back of the year twice, you know what I mean? And he has good film. He has good film. He has good film. You rarely see him on film getting beat. You know, you rarely see him make mistakes on the attacking the ball. You know what I mean? If he ain't picking it off, he's knocking it down. He's a great open field tackler. And you can, he's adapted to, sticking his nose into the run game up front, in that nickel spot, from that down spot, or wherever he's gonna make. He's gonna make it into a impact spot on this defense. And that's where I see him fitting in. I mean, it is. I don't think it's going to be a hard call. I don't think it's going to be a hard call. You know what I'm saying? He's in there, with AJ. He's in there with Jesse. You know what I'm saying? He's like Jesse said. He's like that little brother that won't go away. He has a different question every day. He wants to be shown something. He's asking a question every day, and that's what you want from a guy. Not just from a standpoint of trying to make the team, but trying to be the best cornerback that he can be. He wants to be that beast. He wants. They say he told Hughes and D'Alford that he was coming for that other starting spot. Hey, look, that's what you want, man. That's what you want from a guy. That's what you want in a motherfucker that wants to be that dude. King Rich says They said he's the one that locked down Xavier Worthy, so we know he got good game speed. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Again, he's on. He got good film. You know what I'm saying? He's got good film. You don't see him making too many mistakes. He's not running himself out of a play. You know what I'm saying? He's not overreacting. You know, yeah. You know what I'm saying? When you find something like this, you know, in the undrafted, free agent pool, you know, given the guys that were picked, you know what I'm saying? I just think it was just happenstance. You know, people wanted who they wanted. You know what I'm saying? And for him, you know what I'm saying, to be there for us to, you know what I'm saying, to pick up the fish out of the, out of the pool, hey, you know, all blessings ain't always high profile. You know, and defensively as it is, uh, I mean, I think we got us one. I think we got us one for the long haul, not just for the short term. I'm talking about for the long haul. I think we got us one for the long haul. This kid has that kind of ability, you know. To his hand play at the line of scrimmage is nice. It can be better. You know what I'm saying? But it's nice. He's physical on that. You know, jamming the receiver, bump and run. You know, locking up. You know what I'm saying? Especially within them first 5 yards of a receiver's. You know what I'm saying? You know, trying to get off the line. Oh, he's tough. He's tough. He's tough. So you know, I like I said, I think we got us one. You know what I'm saying? The defensive diamond on that back end. I haven't seen Dante Manning, you know what I'm saying, quite yet. But for right now, I mean, shit, Kobe and Xavier and Bowman are the ones that are lighting it up on the back end, you know, in camp. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about from film study to the workouts, you know what I'm saying, to, you know, the on-field practices and scrimmages and shit, you know what I'm saying, the 7-on-7s. His names keep popping up, you know. Kobe, Trice, Troy, and then on the other side, Joshua Simon. You got guys that are making noise. Let's see. Kimmy said Bates said him and X do film study every day. And yeah. Because in one of AJ's interviews, and AJ was like, he's like that little brother that just won't go away. You know, he want to follow me. He's asking a question every day. He's asking about a certain particular technique. He's and all of that. He's like a pesky sponge. AJ said. So I mean, you know, he's searching for the tools. You know, he's searching for ways to get better. He's seeking out competition. You know what I mean? Look, he want all the smoke. That boy want all the smoke. You know, and that's what you want. You know what I'm saying? Especially at that position. He got the confidence. He got the tool. He has, you know, certain techniques. He's a physical, you know what I'm saying, defensive back. You can't ask for too much more than, you know, somebody that keeps themselves in the play and wants to learn how to stay in the play. You know, yeah, I'm just, you know, it's interesting. You know, Jerry Gray got his hands full on that back end. You know, him, the defensive backs coach, you know what I'm saying? You know, the defensive backs room, you know, both safeties, the corners. It's going to be difficult to judge. But I think, like I said to start with, I think this kid he's gonna move some people out the door. He's making it real hard. You know what I'm saying, for the coaches. You know what I'm saying? He's making it real hard. You know, he's jumping off in the notes. You know, when the coaches, when the defensive back coaches are talking, and when the defensive coaches are talking, his name is constantly up in conversations. You know, in adulation of the work he's putting in. You know, and he's giving off defensive franchise player type vibe to the way he's moving. He's showing he's one of the first to get there. He's one of the last one to leave. What's up, George, Texas boy? What's happening? What's good? What to do, OG? Falcon family. The new era is here. The Atlanta Falcons will rise in 2025. Defensively, as it were, I really believe that. You know, this defense is really going to be different. It's really going to be different. You know, which kind of rose into the thought. You know what I'm saying, for big picture wise. You know what I'm saying. All phases of the defense. You know, from the back end to the linebackers to the D line. You know, the you'd have to kind of be feeling kind of giddy, if you will, about this defense and the possibilities, of what could go down. You know what I'm saying, with this defense. You know what I mean. To what I'm saying, to watch them and watch what's with, because there is so much talent on this defense. It is so much, you know what I'm saying. It's crazy. It is so crazy, and I mean, when it gets all, when you're watching and you're getting information and you're listening to the coaches, speaking, you're listening to the veterans, you know what I'm saying, speak, it's wild. Did you hear Ellis when he said they happy as fuck Albright here because he's been showing them how to play the position of linebacker in its natural form, and they're moving Malone to inside linebacker as well. Uh-huh. 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 Yeah. 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 See that it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that that has you to know that he's like, all right, Raheem, you stay your ass out my goddamn defensive locker room. You know, you can see that Albright he has the pulse of, what I'm saying, what he's good at, these linebackers. He has the pulse of, the line. And when it all comes together into the vision of what they want this defense to be, it's gonna be interesting to something to see. It's gonna be interesting. Because I said last month, the one thing that I'm not worried about as far as the defense goes is gonna be that linebacker room. That's one thing that I'm not worried about, because that's what Albright does. He develops linebackers. See, that's that thing I'm talking about. Jeff Albright. All right. When you hear his name called, you automatically think linebacker. You know, you automatically think linebacker. And it's philosophy as that word. You know, but see, when you put your hand on Raheem Morris's name, what scheme, what production, who is he, what is he, and that question is just to be answered. But I mean, that's an ongoing conversation that's going to be still be going on till somebody actually gives an honest answer to that question. But this defense is the possible schemes that are going to be ran. It's going to be interesting because there is a lot. That it is a lot of weaponry that's in that linebacker room, and there's a lot of weaponry that's up front. You know what I'm saying? So the Texas boy said, if Vernon and Malone work out, Troy could be another. I don't think so. I don't think Troy is going to be. It'll be Bertrand before it's Troy. It'll be Bertrand before it's Troy. You know what I'm saying? Because I think in one of his second or third interviews, Albright was talking about Troy, and being a particular catalyst, you know what I'm saying, in this defense. So yeah, I think it'll be Bertrand before Troy. Troy's background and whatnot, and how he played the game. He has so much to offer, and to understand that his classroom skill work is starting to catch up with his physical ability and instincts. And I think when those things clash, overall, he's gonna be one of the great ones. You see, Richie said, Ellis said, usually the DC is the DB or D-line coach. He's never had a linebacker as a DC, and he loved it. And Bates said he loves the new scheme they're working on, so the team has bought in on Albright. Now that's a bell ringer. That's a bell ringer. You know what I'm saying? The JB3 didn't say that the unit has bought in on Albright. Yeah. That right there, that speaks volumes. That the defensive locker room has bought in to what Albright is selling. Yeah. That's very telling. That's very, 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 very telling. Very telling. I think, to the original point of the topic, yeah, Kobe Bryant, I think is our diamond in the rough. This defensive undrafted free agent class. You go back and look at his foundation and look at what the work that he put in, sophomore, junior, senior year, and his accolades, Big 12 notwithstanding. A lot of things you cannot ignore, what I'm saying, when you look at his catalog. And then when you look at him, what I'm saying, on tape, what I'm saying, and him going against some of the receivers that are in the league now, and the work that he put in against them, like Worthy, like locking up Worthy. And we all know that Worthy is pretty good, what I'm saying, he's pretty good pass catcher. you know, um, you know, with the back end, coming to shape and having its own soap opera, and having that last statement in JB saying that the unit is bought into what Albright is selling, which rolls right on into the secondary topic: the defensive line burden to lead this unit, because it's the elephant in the room with this defense. To be quite honest with what I'm saying, the situation, and with the Street and Taquan and Ogun Ominyana, you know what I'm saying, and Zach, Trice, Ororo, you know what I'm saying, that the defensive line room is the one part of this defense that has a chip on their shoulder and has the most to prove and the most to lose. They're who are gonna have to set the tone for this defense. Which is a large part of the reason why I love that we got Tampa first in week 1. I love it. You know what I'm saying? When you deconstruct the house, you know what I'm saying, of the Tampa Bay Bucks offense and crush, I mean, they're coming in now, Tampa's on a 3-game losing streak to us. If we start the season with giving them another L by defensive dominance, especially from up front, yeah, that's going to send a clear message, a clear message. Let me see. Let's see. Why, when this regime drafted JD, not Troy? Well, well, Troy's impact on this team is in 2 phases of this team. Okay, defense and special teams. And then JD struggled. He struggled bad, and then he got hurt. Troy wasn't struggling when he got hurt. He wasn't. Troy was making plays. And he was coming into his own as the green dot middle linebacker. That's why. Which would be a plus, right? And your second comment, which would be a plus for the head coach, right? Because he hired Aubrey. I mean, yeah, he did. I mean, in all sincerity, Albright, he has to succeed. He has to. And I ain't talking about just because of what happened with his kid. You think about the guys that we told no, the established guys that we told no. If Albright does not succeed, if he doesn't put a playoff contending to championship contending product on the field, then this is gonna be on the head coach. This is gonna be on Homer Simpson. This is gonna be on that smiling milk dud, Raheem. All things considering, so Albright has to succeed. He, and the way things are going and the stuff that are coming on and coming out from players, especially it's becoming a known fact that they bought into what he's selling, which in spite of, what I'm saying, it speaks volumes. It speaks major volumes. I mean, well, both times, what I'm saying, his injuries have occurred, it occurred with, a bad hold and somebody falling on him. Okay, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say he can't, what I'm saying, stay healthy. It's just been, bad and unstructured, what I'm saying, accidents. I mean, but you have your pick, you have your thought, you have your one. That's your perspective. What I'm saying, and don't get me wrong. I like Bertrand as well. I mean, but Bertrand was struggling. He was struggling before he got hurt. And again, Troy was making plays, and Troy was, what I'm saying, one of our impact guys on special teams as well. That's when you have an impact on two phases of the team, defense and special team, that speaks volume. You know, Bertrand was struggling, with gap discipline and all of that. I mean, but hey, who knows, how this is gonna turn, how this is gonna work. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, they can make the mistake if they want to, and run try to town, and he fall into the hands of, what I'm saying, some actual defensive gurus, you know, um, and becomes a superstar somewhere else. All I'm gonna say is, I'm just gonna, put up in big letters. I told you so. I mean, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not totally against what you're saying, because it is a fact they did draft Bertrand. You know, um, but I'm just saying yeah, yeah, King Richie, yeah, Terry. That was a Terry pick. You know, it wasn't an Arthur pick. That was a Terry pick. You know what I'm saying? And throughout this team, you could tell, what I'm saying, the coaches pick from Terry picks, from Terry's scouted picks. You could tell it. And Troy was one of those. Troy was one of those. Now, I mean, but hey, we can only sit and watch and let everything work itself out. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Ghost? What's happening, man? Um, you say, I can already tell Albright is going to look out for the linebackers and make sure we don't have Justin Jefferson alone. You know what I mean? So shout out to Albright. A little veil view to Lake from Ellis. Well, hey, um, look, it was a concerted effort to fill needs this offseason, and they've done that tenfold. Um, and I'm gonna beat a dead horse here. There's just too much talent on this defense for us not to put a playoff contending to championship contending product on the field in 2025. Right there with that. You know what I'm saying? Um, but um, to this thought, the defensive line's burden to lead this unit, and it is. It is. You know, coming off the last 3 years, and we've been on the cusp of turning the corner and not being able to turn the corner for whatever reason, whether it been coaching, whether it been injury, or whether it been the lack of aggressive play. Um, but the personnel that's in the defensive line room, and listening to the coaches talk about some of these guys, that's what's been going on, you know, from working out to film study to, you know what I'm saying, being on the field of practice. Um, I'm elated and excited to see, you know, because the opportunity is going to present itself right off the rip, off the top, off the start. You know, you know what I'm saying. You know, it is going to be, you know, sitting on pins and needles and watching what is going to present itself as a defensive product come week one. Um, you know, these guys, you know, Trice, Aurora, you know, Street, Ominyana, um, you know, with Lloyd in the building, Evan Ketty, Malone being moved the way he's moved, you know, Zach, that unit, it looks to be, you know what I'm saying, you know, setting a tone that, you know, gonna be hell beaters for this season. And if they're able, you know what I'm saying, to, you know, make a stance and do things like get extremely harsh pressure, you know, just out of the base without a blitz, that's how you're gonna know, you know what I'm saying, what this defense is all about. You know, um, I'm not gonna subscribe to that, because when you look at Terry's scouting notes, going back to that, yeah, that was a Terry pick. That was a Terry pick. I mean, but you know, again, it's a matter of perception and opinion. You know what I'm saying? From as far as we're concerned, um, you know what I'm saying, to find a guy, a machine like that, you know, in the mountains up under the hay. Um, I it just again he affect he impact this team into he impacts this team in two phases. You know, that's my stance, you know what I'm saying, on Troy, you know, being on this team, staying on this team, making this team, and being a integral part of this defense, and being an integral part, you know what I'm saying, of, you know what I'm saying, special teams that he is. Um, it is what it is, you know. Um, but you know, looking at the additions, especially up front, um, with Javon, who's another one that's making a lot of noise. Pierce, you know, all of our defensive picks are putting foot to ass, you know, in camp. Um, you know, and then our undrafted defensive, you know what I'm saying, free agent, you know, signings. Kobe Bryant is, you know, sticking out on that back end. And like I said, when this all unfolds, um, especially getting up to you know, first cuts, um, you're kind of sort of going to be able to see where this is going to be headed in standing. Go said, my optimism stems from hopes that one or both can command a double team, which makes the other better in addition to raising AK, Zach, and Ellis to higher win rates. Facts. Facts. Um, because you did see in some points, in some, parts, Zach Harrison, was, taking up, two, two blockers at a time in some cases. You know what I'm saying? And if we have some guys up front, if that can, consistently happen, a lot of guys in that linebacker room are going to get free, and kill on gap discipline, and we make it hard for teams to run. That's gonna make it easier for that back end to eat. When you putting teams in second and 11 and second and 15, third and 17, third and 10, and those numbers, hey, that's all the more better for the defense, especially on the back end, because you're gonna get opportunities. Especially if you're getting pressure, you're gonna get opportunities to get your hand on the ball. You're gonna get opportunities, to get off the field on third down, and get the ball to the offense, consistently. If this defense is able to get off the field, 50 to 60% of the time, through the season, and that which is asking a lot. But if you have that capability, and you're getting off the field anywhere from 48 to 58% of the time, which means your offense has the ball a lot. And with the nasty and violent chips that are on these guys, Roros, Zach and Street, Trice, and Evan Keddy and Lloyd and all the, et cetera, et cetera. So again, if we're able to, get pressure, from our base, and having Albright being able to get into his exotic bag, and and all of that, it's gonna make for an amazing season that we're all hoping for defensively. This has got to be a defensive season. This has got to be a we win by defense, type of season. I mean, if our defense is out here and not giving up 30 plus, 40 points plus, in any game of the season, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. If this defense is not, coughing up over 28 points in any game, having games where, opposing offense can't do nothing but kick field goals, them type of games. When we get to the end of games and the opposing team has less than 100-yard rushing, on average. Listen, if this defense, because we had what 6 defensive touchdowns last year, if we could get twice that, if we can get twice that, if we can get twice that number of defensive touchdowns, we'll be playing in the NFC Championship game. Easy. I didn't say Super Bowl. I said NFC Championship game. But the burden does lie squarely on it lies squarely on the defensive front, though. You know, and they're accepting the challenge. You know, and they're accepting that burden. You know, all things considering. You know, you know what I mean. They're accepting the challenge the way they're, you know what I'm saying, being aggressive in camp, and you know, attacking, you know what I'm saying, what the coaches want them attack, and all. I think can't nothing but good, you know what I'm saying, come from it. You know what I mean? Get nothing, you know, because we had some flashes of being able to get to the quarterback. We had a few flashes of stopping the run, but it was never nothing consistent. You know, if everything comes full circle and we consistently, you know, holding down the run, you know what I'm saying, slowing down the run. Again, like I said, if we're giving up less than 100 yards, you know what I'm saying, on average against the run, and we're making teams one dimensional, and they're having to throw, and that back end is getting multiple chances to get the hands on balls, you know, and we're getting off the field on third downs for anywhere from 48 to 58% of the time, then yeah, our offensive time of possession should be very, very high. Our points per game on average should be very, very high. You know, and that's the point. You know what I'm saying? In coming in both these topics, because like I said, you know, the offense is going to be the offense. I have no qualms, no issues, because I think the offense is going to be even better. You know, it's it's gonna be very hard for opposing defenses to combat this offense. I'm not even worried about the offense, running or passing, not at all. If this defense is holding teams to 17 points or less, yeah, yeah. If we're not giving up points the way we gave up points last year, especially in the second half of the season, you know what I'm saying, consistently, you know what I'm saying, holding teams. When we're making, you know, teams, you know, kick field goals instead of scoring touchdowns, you know, what more can you ask for? That means that front is doing its job. If we're touching the quarterback, if we're hitting the quarterback, if we're sacking the quarterback, if we're creating multitude of turnovers, if we're creating a turnover every game and turning those turnovers into points, you know, hey, you know what I mean? That should be the ultimate goal. That should be the ultimate goal. You know what I mean? Um, this, you know, song. What song you say? Raheem better not put his hands on this defense this season. Let Jeff do his job, or Jeff is going to slap him. Hey, yeah. Sound better when you say it, baby. Sound better when you say it. You know, I'm hoping, you know, saying franchise we get on in him and Jay, but I think it might be solo dolo. Trying to get him in it, get a word. Um, Go said affecting the quarterback, affecting the passer, making others around him better, uh, making the entire defense better. That's the whole goal. Right, right, right. And that's what you want. That's what you want. You know, and look, and like I said, that defensive line room, they're taking on the challenge of that burden. You know what I'm saying, to lead this unit, because if they don't get it done, you know, the guys behind them can't get it done. You know, like Zach said the other day, you know, we're you know, molding into some things. Uh, we have, you know, there's a vision in place, and we're gradually molding ourselves, you know what I'm saying, into that vision that coach has for us, you know. So I look to you know, we get, I'm hoping for to see 50 sacks. That's what I'm hoping for. 40, you know what I'm saying, would be the minimum, but I'm hoping for 50 sacks. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, if we double the amount of defensive touchdowns from last season from 6 to 12, yeah, yeah. With 40 and 50 sacks, yeah. We might be talking about some home field advantage type situations, you know. Come, you know, and but we're gonna know by week 7. We're gonna know exactly what we have as a defensive product. Number one is going week 1 is gonna be an alarm ringer. You know what I'm saying? Especially if we put foot to ass on Tampa. But from week 1 to week 7, is going to tell exactly what we have as a defensive product. You know, what up, Bernard? What's going on with you, man? Nice for you to be in here, sir. Always a pleasure. I hope our defense can generate those turnovers you're talking about. Yeah, I do too. I really do too. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we had 6 defensive touchdowns last year. You know, if we could double that, if we manage to double that, then you'll know exactly what's really, you know what I'm saying, what we really have, you know what I'm saying, from a defensive product. You know, you know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
He's woke up from his we're speaking from the topic of the defensive line, but lead this unit. You know, and listening to guys and finding out that a lot of guys that for Albright's vision, JB, Jesse Bates said that the whole unit has bought in for Albright selling. And that's very telling. What do you feel about that?
I think, you know, his intensity, you know, as JB, you know, said in his interview, his inner linebacker is coming out, and it's bringing um, a different side of, you know, what they didn't have in the past, and I think it's going to bring out a different, you know, you know, person, and you know, in all, especially the linebacker group and the defensive lineman. Um, I think they're going to play with their hair on fire this year. That's, you know, when your defensive line is playing with their hair on fire, it trickles, you know, into the linebacker room and the secondary, and you're playing as one unit. If we can do that for a whole season, only the sky is the limit.
Yeah,
You know,
and
and 'cause we had
six
six
defensive
defensive
touchdowns,
touchdowns, last,
and I was
and
just
I was
speaking.
just speaking.
We're able to,
We're able to double that.
you know,
You know,
we can be on a
be
different
on a
level.
different level.
You
You
double that
double
number,
that
and
number, and
we get
we get
40 to 50
40 to 50
sacks.
sacks.
Hopefully,
Hopefully,
this
this
maturing like that,
like
then
that, then
hey,
hey,
we should be in a
we should
different
be in a different
space.
space.
come
Come
the
from the
season.
season. True. But what I want to do, like now doubling, defensive touchdowns and having 40 to 50 sacks is, amazing. But I think if even if we can just put our offense into better situations, not just scoring touchdowns, but to put away the game.
Yeah,
Playing complementary defense to give the offense opportunities to seal the deal can also win games too. And then I feel like now do I think that we have the ability to get 40 to 50 sacks? Yes, I do. But I want our how can I put this? I don't want our to put the bar all the way up here where we can't where if we don't come up to that, then it'll feel like it's a failed season. You get what I'm saying?
oh,
Or let me put it like this.
most definitely.
Say we get 35 to 37 sacks this year, and we see our defense play at a much better pace, much better clip than we have in the past 5 to 6 years combined. I would take that over 40 to 50 sacks because we're playing as a collective unit. Like I think of it like this: like if we can have, I would take the 35 to 37, maybe 40 sacks, as long as it's 7 to 8 people with multiple sacks instead of having one person or 2 people having like 30 sacks. I take that all day.
Now that's a good point.
Good point.
That's a very
That's a
very
very,
very
very,
good point.
very good.
I mean, because
Because if I'm saying
if we're
if
getting
we're
off the
getting off the
field,
field,
third
third
down,
down,
48
48
to
to
52% of the
52% of the
time,
time,
we,
what I'm saying, and the offense dominate time
possession,
possession, you know,
and having the
and having the
ball,
ball,
you know,
you know,
getting short fields and things of that nature, which should come from that. I mean, that ultimate wish and
ultimate
goal,
wish and goal, get better at getting off the field on third down. That should be
and
number one.
yeah,
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 yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me see right here.
right here.
A lot of
A lot
guys
of
have been,
guys have
you
been,
know, in good
in
sense
good
and just
sense,
talk
just
about
talk
Ali
about
and the
Ali
job
and
that
the
he's
job that
doing.
he's doing.
You know,
You know,
but
but the
development
development
is
is
something that's
something
high
that's
on
high
the
on the
priority. You know what I'm
priority. You know
saying?
what I'm saying?
Anytime
Anytime
you listen to
you
any of the
listen to
guys
any of the
talk.
guys talk,
Mm, mm, mm.
mm, mm,
You know,
you know.
but like I
But
said
like I
before,
said before,
this
this
D-line, a lot
D9,
of
a
them
lot of
is
them is
taking on the
taking on
challenge
the
of that
challenge of
burden
that
to,
burden to,
because they
because
have been
they
at the
have been at the
forefront of the
forefront
act
the
of
act of
production and
production and
success
success
defensively.
defensively.
But
But
to hear
to
some of the
hear
things that
some
are
things
coming
that
out
are coming
about
out about
Trice and
Trice and
Harrison and
Harrison and
Burrow and
Burrow
all
and
those
all
guys,
guys,
kind of makes you
kind of
get it
makes
for
you
the
get it
season.
for the season.
I'm loving, the intensity and about from Ali. Like he's given a lot of energy. You know, something that we haven't had in our defensive or our defensive line room in a long time. And I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
That's true.
it's gonna start showing on the field. I want to see starting training camp. What's that gonna look like? There's gonna be a lot of competition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
a whole lot of
a lot of
competition
competition
in a lot of
in a lot
spots.
of spots.
Um,
Um,
especially on the
especially
back
on the
end.
back end.
Kobe Bryant
Kobe
is going
Bryant is going to
to cause some
cause some
casualties. I ain't
casualties.
nobody
Ain't
really
nobody
expect.
really expect.
You
You know,
know, now as
now
far
as
as
far as
up
up
front,
front,
you know,
you know,
it's
it's
gonna be a
gonna be
what's
what's
a battle
a battle
royal.
royal.
It's gonna be a
It's gonna
battle
be a
royal.
battle royal.
And I
And
think,
I think
going
going
forward,
forward,
it's gonna be a
it's gonna be a
win-win either
win-win.
way. Because
Um, 'cause
he can't
he
stop
can't stop
Price
Price
and Zach.
and Zach.
You know,
You know,
but it's
but
one of
it's
those
one of those
wait-and-see moments.
vacancy
Thing, you
moments.
know,
Thing, you know, what I'm saying?
for
For
the
the
scrimmage and
scrimmage and
action and
action and
preseason to get
preseason
started.
get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who you got
Who
your
you
eye
got
on?
your eye on?
Well, I mean, I've been talking about my guy since, even though he been injured, ever since we picked him up last year, and we drafted him. Bro, I'm telling you, he jumped off the fucking tape. Braylon Trice is gonna be dangerous, bro. I'm telling you, he's finally healthy, as we heard from Raheem Morris said he's finally starting. He's getting there. He should be fully unleashed from training camp. He's gonna be a problem because we have a veteran in Leonard Floyd. We have JPJ as well as Jalen and um who I'm thinking about. I don't know, Ebikati. So he doesn't have to carry the load as much, so he could just pin his ears back and just play.
Yeah, and then talk of them
Talk of them moving
moving over to
on
the
over
middle.
to the middle.
Yeah, he gonna be off the ball linebacker now, so he can play in space, which I think that's better for him because he can finally utilize his athleticism. So yeah, that's huge. Now I want to see is Zach gonna take that next step, because we all seen him making numerous amount of plays last year. But is he going to bolster down that,
Well, they got it where they put a little bit more weight on them. They plan on playing more in the middle than they did last year. So it may be something.
To that.
need him to be that anchor then?
Him, Street,
Omiata,
Aurora,
uh,
other key,
Dallas.
Dallas. We got some meat in the
meat in the middle.
Graham, Taquan Graham as well.
Yep, Graham is coming back. He has range of motion that knee is not in back any kind of way.
Right.
Yeah. Which
Was it?
First guy, rookie of the year with 4.5 sacks. Wow.
Well, let's dig into that. He don't play for Falcons. They will find any reason to hate on Atlanta sports and anything. We got to go through the roof in order to get recognition for anything.
This is true.
I think that's fair. Hell no. Because Atlanta is a professional team just as well as anybody else. Why are we getting penalized for being that? But hey, who am I?
Well, the defensive outcome this season is going to speak for whatever narrative that may change.
Always.
And most of that relies on Homer Simpson saying that that's how the defensive block. That's a lot what the season's riding on. Raheem Morris don't Simpson up the season and just stay the fuck out of the way and let Zach Robinson and Jeff Albright do their job. We should be fine. We should be able to do something and put a great defensive product on the field. Same for the offense. I think we did our jobs in the offseason by filling all needs. Now we got to take those needs and turn them into impact. These guys in position to make plays. That was my shit. But you got anything else but that?
Man, the only thing I can say is I'm ready to see this team put some pads on and see them practice.
Yeah.
I'm training camp. Like I want to see put eyes on to see what this defense is gonna really look like, and what better test for that defense than go against this offense that we had.
Oh yeah.
And for Zach Robertson to say that he didn't even open up a whole playbook last year.
Facts.
What better what better way to build yourself and get ready for the regular season than to go against that offense that, might I add, put up almost 20-something points a game.
At one point it was 26. I think it doubled out at 23.
I'll take that. If we can score between 25 to 28 points a game and then only give up 14 to 20 points, I'll take that.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on this policy, tune in on Friday. Falcon Madness. The topic will be is Michael Penix Jr. better than Michael Vick? Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, tune in for that. Tune in for that.
You going there?
It's gonna be very, very interesting.
Oh,
yes.
So it's gonna be a whole lot of hurt feeling come Friday night.
Yeah.
Hey,
Christy.
Hey, Miss Christy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We doing. Y'all tune in tonight for the heavy hitters. They're gonna be doing their thing tonight. Will's probably gonna be coming on. But yeah, that's me on. Unless I just somewhere, but I'm talking Friday. Friday afternoon madness. Yours truly, Frank. Night. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. More exclusive Falcons. Yeah, I wish for that. I wish for that too, Chris. I wish for that too. Yeah.
Oh, that would put a whole bunch of love in my heart if we do that.
Yeah.
Crush them out.
I mean,
I can't stand none of them.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we got extensive amount of talent. And on this team as a whole. So these coordinators, they are able to do their thing, we should be able to put a good product on the field. And defensively, like I said, week one, should be a start on the Bucks. Saying by week 7, what we can as a. That's my tail on that. So this is Wicked Sports. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Like for me. I'm saying if you're new to the network, You like what
You
you
like
hear.
what you hear.
Subscribe, Mr. White Never.
Mr. White Never.
You know, I try to give y'all some Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Wednesday, Friday.
Occasionally on
Tuesday too.
You know.
You know.
We got things coming from the
all the alliances.
But
you got something else you want to go out there and close this thing out.
I'm done. We appreciate y'all. Y'all stay tuned for the heavy hitters. Me and Sam will be back on Friday. Other than that, hey, let's get to it.
Yes, get you some dinner. Back to close the day out. Look, man, we gotta keep it safe. Gotta keep it dirty. We gotta keep it real. Next choice be your best. Mr. White, the franchise for the Alliance. We out.
Peace.